Welcome to the In Our Humble Opinion podcast, the show where no topic is off limits. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a wide variety of interesting topics: sports, gaming, the paranormal, and everything in between. All opinions given are respectfully and humbly our own. Now here's your hosts, Jacob Cook and Brantley Weatherford.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of In Our Humble Opinion. My name is Jacob Cook, and I'm very pleased to be joined, as always, by my best friend and co-host, Brantley Weatherford. Brantley, how are you?
Hello! I'm good. My mind just shoots all over the place. Pinging, as my father would call it. My mind just pings. So, yeah. Here I am.
Never know what we're going to get on one of our introductions, our legendary, iconic introductions.
That they are.
We are very pleased to be back, however. I know it's been a while, and we apologize for missing an episode here and there. That may continue in the future. Our lives are somewhat chaotic at the moment with work and other things, other commitments that we have. But if you don't see us on Sunday, check back on Wednesday. And if you don't see us on Wednesday, check back on Sunday. We'll try to do better about posting a schedule in terms of our social media. But we do appreciate everybody for joining us once again. We have a very good episode planned for you all. This one's going to be more for our sports fans and gamers. So this is definitely a lighter-hearted episode. But it was one that Brantley and I were really pumped about. Because Brantley, I don't know if you realize this, but we're only about a month away, about 5 weeks away from Game of the Year. And it snuck up on us, but here we are. I wanted to jump into something real quick, Brant, but I'll give you the floor for just a second.
I thought you were about to say from the playoffs, so I was ready to go, playoffs! But then you said Game of the Year. I was like, I got to hold back.
We'll get to the playoffs. I'll give you an opportunity here in about
all right.
25 minutes for that.
Okay. All right.
But I wanted to start with this, and I wanted to kind of, throw you a curveball, let's just say. Because I've had an epiphany, Brant. I know that you are the white knight when it comes to all things Destiny. So
No, hold on.
No.
I've had my criticisms.
I know you do. I'm just picking on you. But I did come across this article this week that I found interesting, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Bungie has some serious issues, I think, internally, and this is evident by this article. Bungie on mass layoffs. This week, Bungie laid off about 8% of its total workforce, which is around, based on the numbers I saw, a little over 150 to 200 people, somewhere in there, I believe. They did come out and say after the layoffs went public that they are smoothly developing the final shape with its staff of about 650. And they also addressed the situation and acknowledged severe lack of trust from their community. The article kind of goes on to talk about what led to this, and a lot of it had to do with the recent expansion, Lightfall. So, as someone who has played the game as long as you have, I'm right there with you. You know my feelings about the game. You know my feelings about why I haven't played it much over the past several years. I don't feel like the community is unjust in their criticism, but I wanted to pass you the floor. And does that surprise you that they had to lay off so many people? And also, what are your initial impressions with the state of the community? I realize we haven't been playing the game much lately at all, but I was just curious, as I know you are a big fan of the franchise. I am too, but I have disconnected myself a bit more, I think, than you have over the past couple of years.
Well, let me be clear. As Jacob, you have said, I have been a big fan. I love the lore of the game tremendously. If we look at the game as gameplay-wise, the gunplay is fantastic. I think the loot and stuff is fun. But Destiny has had a problem since its beginning. And that is consistency of having something fun to do. The last time I played Destiny was actually about 2 weeks ago. I hopped on, did a few nightfalls. I did 4 nightfalls to get one thing to drop. It didn't drop. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I have made, as you know, Jacob, I've made builds in the game that, when I say builds, like I base it more off of cosmetic looking, but builds nonetheless that I love. It's fun. I love playing it. Like, all right, I'm I don't know, a Roman soldier in future, or I'm a space cowboy. It's fun to do. It is. The problem is
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to do. And you say, well, have you done all the raids? No, I don't. I don't want to do the raids really. Because I can compete without.
Yeah, let me just jump in very quickly because I know what you're trying to say. The gameplay loop for me is where I lose interest. I don't really care about grinding Grandmaster Nightfalls. I don't care about doing the high-end content. It doesn't appeal to me. So then where do you need to go? Well, you have to go do either planetary content such as, what was it, the Something of Sorrows back in, I don't even know what that expansion was.
Altar of Sorrows.
Maybe that was it, Altar of Sorrows, and then move forward a few expansions. What was it in Lightfall? Not the protocol, but it was something. I don't know. It always has
not escalation protocols. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah. It always has a different name, but it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
And once you do enough of that, then you get your upgraded gear, and then you can move forward into the content loop, and you can do other things, and it just isn't interesting to me. I mean, I haven't done any of the new seasonal content, which I've been told by people that I trust is quite good, but I just don't really care about it. It's just.
For me, seasonal content has to be, for me, rewarding. And I think a few seasons ago, where you could get the Taken type looking weapons, they had the black Taken fog to them or whatnot. They were cool. I was like, all right, I'll do some of the season content, get this. And then a new season comes out, those are gone, and the new stuff that's available to get, to me, is not appealing, so I don't have interest. I'm like, I don't care about getting that stuff. I'm not about to grind to get that stuff, because the stuff I do want, I already have, or it's no longer available. So the new seasons, for me, they have to have stuff that is interesting. And I know I'm just one person. Some people probably love the stuff, but if it's not appealing to me, I don't care to get it.
Yeah.
I think if they made an introduction to like a classic seasonal mode where you can get this old season stuff, and there are some things like that. For example, what's that, the 9 show with Zer? What's that thing called?
The what now? The 9.
Yeah,
like
you play
the event.
Yeah, where you do like the different stages, and he's like,
yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Each season they put different old season stuff on there to get. The problem is the grind just to get to one piece of gear that's completely random is, to me, not fun. I don't enjoy that at all. There's that, and then of course there are sometimes sells old season gear, but I wish there was like a direct way you could go to some certain season, like the Red War. It's no longer in the game. That what Destiny 2 started as, the Cabal Red War. There's no way to play it, as far as I know. I wish you could go back, and they say they took it out for space reasons, and I don't want to hear that crap. I mean, we're on 5th gen Xbox, or the next gen, not 5th gen. What are we, 9th gen? I don't know. Xbox and PlayStation. We should be able to have space, and I don't know. They take out old stuff, and they eventually bring it back, but at that point, I've lost interest. I don't have fun anymore just grinding away. I used to. I used to say, Jacob, if they had random weapon rolls, you remember me saying this? I said it'd be a whole lot more fun. Well, it's back, but I just don't have interest in doing that anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing for me. I obviously the pinnacle weapons is where I hang my hat most of the time, and I've talked about it on this podcast several times, so I won't go into it here, but that was a big thing for me. In addition to that, I also get very annoyed, and Destiny doesn't exclusively do this, or rather it's not exclusive to the Destiny market, like how they market the game, but I think it's most evident with Destiny because I do have so much time into the universe and into the franchise, but it annoys me every single time. every time a new expansion or a new season is coming out, it's always this promotional material that highlights the Galahorn's coming back. And I'm like, well, you're the one who took it away in the first place. Why do I have to pay more to get a gun that I used to have because you didn't put it back in the game?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm just over it. I'm just so over that. And for a long time, the gameplay was good enough where I kept coming back, but it's the exact same thing every time. And I don't mean to complain about it being the same thing. I mean, it is what it is, and it's good at what it does. But I played it so much, and I've enjoyed it to, back in King's Fall, we were clearing all the content. We were doing all the raid. We were even doing PvP, which has, completely been neglected for the past several years. And that's another reason that I'm sort of salty about it, because I actually enjoy the PvP. But yeah, it's just, I think the community is just tired of it. And I think it's reflecting in the numbers. The final shape has a ton of Lightfall was supposed to be the expansion that sort of was like, okay, coming off of what many considered was a great expansion in that of the Witch Queen. Going into Lightfall, there was a lot of expectations to keep the story. You had a great story with the Witch Queen, just keep it going. And then they just completely dropped the ball. And it was awful.
Yeah.
So, But anyway, that was my take on it. I'll give you the final word before we move on to the next topic.
The last word, Jacob. You missed the pun.
Yes. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you, sir. But it's yours, not mine. Little lore. Anyway, gosh, I messed my own self up. Oh, the reskins. I've been complaining about this since day one.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I am so sick. One problem I think they have is the constant reskinning of armor and weapons and then putting it out there and say, here's some new stuff. It looks slightly different, but it's the same weapon type. Other than one has a hair on it and one doesn't. It's a new weapon. Has different perks. Yep. I don't care. Armor too. I'm sick of the reskins. They reskinned Iron Banner armor for years. They still do. I have the same Iron Banner armor now. The Iron Banner armor that they're doing now, I got it like last year. So I think they've become lazy, and it's irritating. But I still love the lore.
Yeah, the lore is great, but they need an artist on that development team that knows how to draw a proper hunter cape.
A proper hunter cape, and stop giving hunters stupid, unsymmetrical armor.
Yeah, and you just remember, like, Destiny, for all of its faults, the DLC was so good. Like, the Dark Below was highly memorable, and also the following one, House of Wolves. It was great.
Yeah, it was.
But now we're just getting, I don't know. It's just not what it used to be. I will like to say before we move on to the next game I want to discuss real quick, Brant, the final sentence in this article that I found is, if you're one of the unfortunate souls still churning through the endless Destiny 2 grind, consider checking out our guide on the best legendary weapons in Destiny 2.
They're mocking them at this point.
You poor unfortunate souls.
How sad, how true.
All right, so the next game I want to talk about, and just for the record, before we move on, it was a pipe dream, even before it came out, that the final shape would even contend for any awards at the Game Awards. I don't know if it would even contend for Game of the Year. That was never going to happen, but we hoped it would be better, and we hoped
the final.
Yeah. It's just an expansion. I don't think that would ever qualify. But,
depends on how good it was.
Yeah, but I mean, that did not work out at all. Yeah. All right. Oh crap! I messed up my place.
That's something else, guys. During this brief intermission, while Jacob tries to find what he's looking for, let me just tell you about the world we live in. And that's all I got. Jacob, back to you.
Well, now that we've pondered, now that we've had our deep moment of pondering, let's see. Okay, here it is. So, one of the games that Brantley and I were super pumped for, and I know Brantley, you played it more than I have at this point because I started to play WoW with my brother, and then we sucked you into it. We were playing Starfield, and we had a lot of expectations for this game going into it, and you and I were thinking this could potentially be, hopefully, Game of the Year. At least a contender, a candidate for it. We had a whole episode where we were talking about it. I did a video on my channel where I talked about my first impressions. But now that the game has been out for a while, several weeks at the time of this recording, it seems like the opinions have begun to settle. The honeymoon phase, if you will, has worn off, and the masses have started to leave their feedback. Some of these reviews that I've read on Metacritic are on Metacritic, so I want to say that first and foremost. It's not the end-all be-all. But I do think it's a platform used enough that it can give you a rough idea of what the general community feels about the game. I also heard several people who I respect highly who have been playing games since the 80s talk about Starfield, and they were not too impressed after a while and have since dropped the game for others that have come out since. So I wanted to get your thoughts on someone who has played it more than myself. A lot of people complain about the gameplay loop at a certain point. They say it's not very refined and that it gets too repetitive too quickly. A lot of people have said that the characters and the main story are not very memorable and lack a lot of personality, and that there's a particular dungeon or something like that that is the exact same dungeon and you have to play it multiple times in the story. I can't confirm any of that because I haven't made it that far into the story, but I wanted to get your thoughts and perspective on that criticism, and if there's any validity to it whatsoever, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, on the dungeon part, I don't know, because you know how much story I've done, Jacob? The same amount you have done.
Okay, fair enough.
I've done side quests. In terms of the gameplay loop, I mean, it is what it is, you know. That's not a... Well, that doesn't please me. I'm not trying to please anybody. It seems to be go here, do this, kill this, go here, do this, kill that. And I think one of the main issues people are having with the game is there's no sense of exploration outside of a small diameter or circumference of an area, perimeter of an area. For example, you go to a new planet, like this whole mass planet. The whole planet is explorable. The problem is there's nothing there to explore. There's a few buildings here and there, or like a satellite dish, and there's some things to fight, find, whatnot. It's that. But then you can land anywhere on the planet based on where you click to land. And you land, and there's nothing there. Nothing. Yeah, there's wildlife, but the wildlife is pointless. If you find a cave, you go into a cave. There's nothing in the cave. The caves are useless. Like, you go in a cave in Skyrim, there was something there. You go into a cave in Starfield, and I don't even go to caves. I see them on the map, I avoid them. Like, there's nothing there for me to explore. And it is just a lot of repeat, going back and forth and back and forth. Go here, talk to this person. Get in your ship, fly, talk to this person. And that's one big issue I have with Starfield. You got to build up your ship, which is fine. I like building my ship. But you got to get it built up to a certain, like, jump power just to get to some planets. So you kind of cut yourself off from going to some quest because you can't get there through your paths. Like, there's no way for you to get there unless you upgrade your ship, which requires you to perk into points you might not want to put skill points in. So you're kind of limited in that area. And then the space battles are all the same. The gunplay is fine. I enjoy the gunplay.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's fine. After you beat, though, like, I'll just give an example. There's the Red Legion. No, not the Red Legion. The Red
Raiders.
Well, the Raiders, but they're called something. The Red something. Oh, Crimson Fleet. That's what it is, yeah. Yep. Crimson Fleet, they have a fun story. I enjoy the story. But after that, their missions are like, there's another settlement that needs your help. So that is
the Preston Garvey effect.
Yeah, like, go here, do this bounty, take this, bring it back to us, get your money. That's boring.
Well, I will say that the podcast that I listened to told me, or rather, they were telling the audience that the most redeemable feature or storyline in the game was the Crimson Fleet. They said,
Really good.
If you don't do anything else, do the Crimson Fleet. I have a review that I found that I think highlights a lot of how we feel. It's not too long. I'll try to read it fairly quickly. This gentleman gave the game a 6 out of 10. He said there are a lot of good elements. Some planets are beautiful and largely devoid of human meddling, which is one aspect that I really enjoy. In a spacefaring future with so much to explore, there isn't that much to see. However, in spite of a few good storylines, I just could not get into this game like previous Bethesda titles. After spending several hundred hours in each Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, Fallout 3, and Fallout 4, this game seems different somehow. Exploration is tedious once on planet, and fast traveling through menus seems to be encouraged, an encouraged activity to travel between large expanses. Instead of fleshing out a few dozen worlds and planets, making them immersive, there are a massive amount of planets, which mostly feel completely empty and therefore purposeless to explore. The outpost building system is tedious and unnecessarily difficult when compared to even basic building city simulations. I wanted to love it, but overall, it was just an average experience.
Well, the whole planet thing's true. I mean, there's some solar systems you go into. There's like 5 planets, but there's absolutely nothing on them. Like nothing. So you go to them, it's like, what's the point of me being here? There's no reason to go to it. There's no mission. There's no one to talk to. There's no reason. There's nothing to explore. And call me a lame-o, but exploring a digital planet to see fake wildlife is not interesting to me. So I'm sorry. I don't want to do that.
No, I mean, I tend to agree. I still want to play through the story at least once, and I still was enjoying it whenever I stepped away. But I did step away because something else was more compelling and more fun. And I do think that the game has a good foundation, and I did enjoy my time with it, and I'm not finished with the game as I just mentioned. But I don't have the same, I just can't wait to get back to Starfield kind of thing,
Yeah, I will say the side quest that I've done, like Crimson Fleet, excuse me, that was a blast. In fact, I made a character that's a pirate, and it played well for that. There's some other side quests I've done that have been exceptional. Like, wow, that was really fun. I wish everything was like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing. So overall, I would say that the game it was a long shot anyway, but I think it has unfortunately not done enough to contend for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I agree.
Which, it's kind of surprising to me that Bethesda has not. They've been sitting on the gold mine that is Elder Scrolls 6 for the better part of a decade, over 12 years actually.
Yeah.
And yet they just I mean, presumably they're working on it now. They showed us that teaser in 2015. That's all we've seen.
2018. But...
it's 2015, I think. It was the year that they showed off Fallout 4, and it came out later that year.
Jacob, I don't agree with you.
Well, you have every right to disagree with me, you piece of junk. You can look it up.
It was 2018. I'm looking at it now. You dump.
It was 2018 that they showed off the teaser trailer.
Mm-hmm. Or they just panned over the land.
All right. I sit here corrected.
I was in Eufaula at the time. I remember, and you texted me, you're like, did you say it? I was like, yeah.
It's interesting also in that same showcase, they showed not a title, but a teaser for Starfield.
They did. I remember that.
Which now we have. But it's just baffling to me that Elder Scrolls 6 was the game and is the game that the community and their fan base has been wanting since Skyrim the most. I mean, Fallout 4, people were really hyperbolic about that and really excited. But still, it's like, where is Elder Scrolls 6? And everyone's like, oh, they have ESO. That's not the same thing.
ESO is doo-doo.
That is nowhere close to the same thing. And no, it's just not. All right. Well, anyway, question before we move on to something else is, what is your game of the year right now, Brant? As we sit here in early November, what say you? I mean, we played a lot of Tears of the Kingdom. You didn't really play that much of Armored Core.
That's not true. I've made it far.
You did, but I'm just saying, like, it's not like Elden Ring where we're playing it for like 6 weeks straight. You played some Starfield?
I'm going to put it between Tears and Armored Core. Excuse me. I don't know. I enjoyed Armored Core. It's like playing Gundams. It's fun.
Is it game of the year?
That's hard because there's not very many choices.
Isn't that interesting, though? We did a whole episode talking about how this is the best year in gaming. And I don't necessarily disagree with what we said in that episode, but it's just like Diablo 4.
It was fun for the first,
I played it for like 4.5, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying it. I mean, I had a character almost at max level. I had another character I was playing through the story with on hardcore. I was really, really into the game, and I really liked it. And then the season 1 came out, and that kind of changed everything.
I guess Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, there's nothing else I can pick from.
Is it Tears of the Kingdom because nothing else contended with it, or just everything else was kind of like meh?
Well, nothing else contended. I mean, I love Armored Core. That's fun, but I haven't beat either one. I've put more time though in Tears. So I'll go with Tears.
Now, granted, we haven't played Super Mario RPG or anything like that, but that's a remake.
Didn't that come out this month?
Yeah. Super Mario Wonder, I will say I have put a little bit of time into that over the past week. I really, really like it so far. Is it game of the year? Probably not. I would probably put Tears of the Kingdom in that position right now. I enjoyed it immensely, and I still think the game has a lot to offer, and it's just such a overwhelming undertaking. Like, I explored the underground for days.
Yeah, that's all I've done.
And it was great. But then you go to the Sky Kingdoms, and it's like a whole thing. And I'm like, dang, I don't know if I want to. I mean, it's not that I don't want to. It's just like, I'm going to spend forever doing this. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My fiance loves the game.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really is great. And I have seen some unbelievably awesome things online for people that have created like mechs and all sorts of weird like, stuff. So I don't know. The game is great. It, like, some of the best moments for me were, freeing that village that was overrun by the pirates and exploring the island that they came from and stuff like that. That's been like the highlight for me in the game so far.
It's been a blast.
Yeah. So there's a lot of other cool moments too that I really enjoyed as well. And all the new abilities and stuff are awesome.
Yeah.
So like I'm right there with you. I think Tears of the Kingdom right now is deserving of the Game of the Year spot. Just based on what other games we played.
Yeah. For me, what I've enjoyed the most is exploring the underground. I mean, that's been a blast.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I'll never forget the time I spent a good while working on this glider, and it worked. And but I didn't compensate for how much power it needed in order to stay afloat. And I fell right in front of, and it was all dark around you, except for the purple poison, whatnot.
Yeah.
And it landed quite literally right in front of a lion creature.
Oh Lord!
That was the first one that
ridiculous.
Yes, they are, and I about just filled my pants up right there and there.
Well, since we're on the gaming topic, real quick, Jacob.
Yeah, sure.
As you know, as I've been waiting for you to level up in World of Warcraft, so
Yes.
I can dungeon
Yes.
with you again. By the way, are you almost there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I played Dark Souls 3.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I wanted to go back and give another playthrough, just for fun. Let me ask you, Jacob. Well, let me state this. I've told you before. I blew through the game, doing all the side stuff, well, except all the side quests. I just do them. If I complete them, I complete them. But blew through all the side areas and bosses super fast. Like, I only had to fight 2 bosses twice, and one of them was because I forgot about an effect that happened. If I didn't forget about the effect, I would have killed it. And the other one, I got caught healing, but then I went back and destroyed it, including what is considered one of the hardest bosses in the game, the Nameless King, which, as you know, Jacob, the first time I fought it, I shot it with a bow because I thought it was too hard. Well, I went in there this time and spanked it with a giant 2-hand sword, so I was slow as poop. Spanked it. No problems. First try. Is Dark Souls 3 easy compared to Elden Ring, or have I just improved tremendously?
I think you've just improved. And the reason that I say that is because I think about my own experience with like Bloodborne. And the first time I played through the game, it was a slugfest and it took me forever. And I had to learn so much about the game. But whenever I returned to it to platinum the game and I was playing it all the time, I could blow through the game in like 2.5 hours easily. And I may die once or twice. Like it just became like second nature to me. I had all the mechanics, all the fights pretty much memorized. I knew what the best weapons were. I knew what the best builds were. I tried different things just to try to keep it fresh and engaging. But overall, like I had the game down to a science. And it was the same thing in Dark Souls 3 with a few exceptions. I mean, I didn't have the level of success that you just experienced, but I was pretty darn proficient with the main game up until a certain point. I'm not saying that you're not highly skillful. It does take a lot of perseverance and a lot of skill to do what you did. But I think that like Elden Ring, though, like, you know how many times I played the early game, is that, you know, sort of the joke in our friend in our social group. But like I can blow through the early game, get through Stormwind, or not Stormwind, the castle, whatever it's called.
It is Stormwind.
No, I don't think so. It's something else.
Stormwind Castle.
Maybe it does. I can get through the castle in like no time. Have no problem on the bosses. No problem on anything. You know, it's just I just know it. I can actually get through but the first 2 bosses in like, you know, no time at all, because I just know what to do. I know where to go. I know what weapons to seek out. I know what things to upgrade. You know, I don't know. I just knowledge is very important in a game like that.
Yeah.
And half the time that you die, you just are learning the fight. You're learning the mechanics. Like if we fought Melania again, I don't think it would take us anywhere near as much time as it did the first time. But that's my opinion. And again, that's not factoring out the skill equation. We put enough time into the game to develop those skills, but it's still like when you have knowledge and that skill set come together, ooh, you got something special.
Well, before Elden Ring, I never did 2-handed weapons.
Yeah.
So Dark Souls 3, I never played with 2-handed weapons because I figured they're too slow. I won't be able to move in time. I won't have time. Well, this time I played exclusively a 2-hand sword. I started with Claymore, went to the ultra great sword, and I could get 3 swings in with ultra great sword because I didn't have much stamina. I put it in health and strength and stuff.
Yeah,
but it didn't matter. I'd get 2 swings in, dodge, get a swing in, dodge, and I was like, "This is." In fact, I told you I was stunned when I beat the final boss. I kind of stood there like, "Is that it?" Okay.
Yeah, the second playthrough I did it almost exclusively with the Exile Greatsword, and I just destroyed everything. The damage you do is just so ridiculously high.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I loved it, though. It was great. I felt like a. All right, everybody, we're back. We had a slight technical difficulty, but it looks like things are working smoothly again. But anyway, Brent, as I was saying, I just I think it comes down to our experience and our skill combined to make those games seem a lot easier than they are. Because to new players, I think they are still quite the challenge.
Well, that being said, blowing through it, I still had a blast. I was like, this is awesome. So, it was
Yeah, and it
a good
just,
time.
as I was saying during the part where we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, I was hoping to see the Elden Ring DLC by the end of the year.
Oh,
But,
I know.
unfortunately, it's not the case. It'll be next year at least before we see it, but
Oh,
looking forward to
my.
it nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everybody, let's switch over to some football action. Brantley and I gave our takes at the start of the season as to what we might see. I had to eat a lot of humble pie when preparing for this episode because I had made some bold predictions that have not come to pass.
A lot of butt cheeks out there. I know that.
Yes, they are. The Mizzou Tigers have definitely made me eat a lot of crow the past few weeks. As I said, they were going to be complete cheeks, and now they're 7-1. And
Isn't that something?
I mean, it is. It is remarkable. They made a 60-something yard field goal to win one game, I think.
Yeah.
So they've had quite the
Longest field goal in
season.
their history.
Yep. I know. I'm fully aware. If I had not picked them to be bad, they would have missed it, of course. But Georgia takes them on this weekend, if
They
I'm
do.
not mistaken. And this is an opportunity for the Tigers to show that they're not pretenders, but contenders. I don't see it happening, though, to be honest. Georgia is starting to peak, I think. But what do you make of this matchup, Brant?
It's going to show that Mizzou is pretenders.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Missouri fans. I've enjoyed your season so far, but I see you like a Tennessee of last year. Do good, get an upset here or there, but ultimately you're going to Athens, and Georgia feels disrespected because they're not number one, even though they haven't lost in what is it?
The
2
SEC
years?
championship game?
Yeah, to Alabama. So I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see an upset. But this weekend, Missouri, get ready. You're going to be pretenders.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And not because I just, they just haven't been much of anything since they contended for the SEC whenever Georgia was down, and they played Auburn, I think.
Well, even then, they weren't good.
Yeah, even then they weren't amazing. But I have to give credit where credit is due. 7-1 is very impressive.
Yeah.
And I apologize to the Mizzou Nation for my take.
Jacob, remember, the next time you say butt cheeks, remember Vanderbilt. That's
Yes.
actual butt cheeks.
Yes, they are.
Sorry,
0-5 in the
Vanderbilt.
conference, 2-7 overall. Now, having said that, my Auburn Tigers will play Vandy this weekend. And for the love of God, Auburn, please,
Should be a close one.
do not embarrass me again.
When did they embarrass you last time?
I mean, we only have 20 minutes left. I don't have enough time. But yeah, Auburn, we're not going to talk much about Auburn. We're 1-4 in conference play, 4-4 overall.
It's upsetting. It's upsetting.
It's so bad. We did have our best game last weekend, though. Our best game by far.
Against Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, Brant, but don't take this away from me.
Jacob, Mississippi State is so bad that even though they have a winning record last weekend, Auburn was still favored with the losing record against them.
Any team that's an underdog to Auburn is in complete rebuild mode. But I'll take a win any way we can get it. We're two wins away from going bowling. Vanderbilt is not good. Vanderbilt is butt cheeks. We should be able to win this game, and then we're just one win away from going bowling.
Where's the game being played?
It shouldn't matter. It's probably in Nashville, but it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It's Vanderbilt. It should not matter. If Vanderbilt wins this game, I don't even know what I would do. I don't even want to fathom that. So
It'd be like Nick Saban's first season where Louisiana Monroe won a game against us.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it would be set the world on fire here at the Plains.
You're living in it, Jacob. Jake's just living in it.
It would not be good. Let's see. What kind of matchup do we have? Oh, yes, the big game, of course. Alabama, LSU in Tuscaloosa. This game has playoff implications.
Playoffs?
There you go, Brent. There you go. We're weaving it in there. Excuse me. But this game, it's a big game. It's the old biggie.
It's the last biggie before the Iron Bowl. Actually, we played Kentucky, too.
That's right. That is correct. What do you make of this matchup, Brant? I've been told that Alabama needs to be on upset alert. This is going to be like last year all over again. I just don't know, man. Alabama's been the most inconsistent team all year in the conference, at least based on expectations. And somehow they're 7-1, and they have played very well in the second half of most of their games in conference play. I don't know what we're going to get. Are we going to get a Milroe turnover fiasco like against Texas, or are we going to get the poise and the leadership of a quarterback who looks like he's contending for a Heisman even though he's not? Is LSU going to just dominate the line of scrimmage? Is their quarterback going to show that he's still a Heisman contender? I don't know what to make of this game.
Nick Saban, Wonder Boy, you need to show up. All right, this is how I see it, Jacob. I think Alabama's defense is really good. Really good. They held Ole Miss to 10 points. Ole Miss's defense outscored LSU's defense. Or LSU's offense, excuse me. So, we have the defensive capabilities to stop LSU. Florida State did it. Hello. Florida State did it, no problem. My issue is your issue, Jalen Milroe. Are we going to have a Heisman contender? Or are we going to have Texas is back, folks, except with LSU? I don't know. I feel like we need to build a lead early and prepare for a counterattack. Because if our defense can play as well as they did against Ole Miss, I think we can win it, no problem. But if our defense struggles, our offense needs to actually put together drives so our defense isn't tired. So it's going to be dangerous. I'm going to wake up tomorrow feeling dangerous, but not for a good reason. So,
yeah, I would agree. I think that if Alabama gets off to a slow start, they're going to be in some serious trouble. I think Jalen Milroe is going to be the key. Turnovers are obviously going to be the key, as they are in every big game. This is not any kind of revelation, but Alabama needs to protect the football, and they need to consistently put together drives, keep the offense of LSU on the sideline, and give their defense sufficient time to rest between series. And I think that they'll have a great chance to do that at home. So I give them the edge in that game. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they won by 10 to 13 points.
It wouldn't me either, but it also depends on how well they show up,
Yeah, I mean, the same, because I said the same thing against Texas, and we all know what happened there.
Yeah, Texas won by 10 to 13 points. You're correct.
Yeah, I just had the teams wrong. Last game in the SEC, brand that caught my eye that I want to get your thoughts on real quick before we broaden the horizons and go outside the SEC. This is a game I think that could be interesting. I think Ole Miss could be potentially on upset alert. Texas A&M, I know Ole Miss is at home, but Jimbo Fisher, a lot of heart,
He does.
going in there, getting the upset on Lane Kiffin in Oxford. It's not inconceivable to me. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they got blown out of the water, but I just feel like that game is being overlooked, I think, and we could see an upset.
Not so fast, Jacob. Lane Kiffin's going to show up big time strong and say, I'm here. We're coming. Except he's actually going to make it there and win. All right, I'm taking Ole Miss. No doubt in my mind.
I mean, I don't know if I'd commit to taking A&M, but I feel like people are sleeping on that game. It could have some implications. Although Alabama's already won the head-to-head, so it really doesn't matter that much. But
that's true.
Alabama
If we
needs
lose
to
LSU.
Yeah, Alabama needs to win tomorrow for sure, and then they have to win out, which this doesn't seem like that would be too hard to do, and then beat a Georgia team, but just giving them fits over the past couple of years.
That's Jacob. Georgia has only won once over the past few years. It's not like Georgia's done stuff to Alabama over the past few years. They haven't. They won one time, and two of the best players on Alabama were not playing in the game. Come on.
Yeah, I know, but like going into those games, it just felt like Alabama doesn't have much of a chance.
We blew them out in 2021. 41 to what was it, 24?
Was it that decisive?
It was a blowout. Okay. Yeah, we smacked them.
Well, excuse me.
What are you talking about?
Excuse me.
They just ain't seen the quarterback that play like that before. Hello.
Look, I'm just sitting over here in my navy and orange depression, okay?
You and me both, Jacob. It hurts.
What's another game that's got your eye this week, Brad? I know that there are some big games in the Pac-12, if I'm not mistaken.
USC Washington, I predict a blowout. Washington all day.
Well, that game might be quite significant. If USC wins, then their season isn't saved, but Washington hasn't looked great the past couple of weeks. Oregon looks like the team to beat in the conference, and many would say that they deserve to be in the top 4, but they're not.
Well, I'm pulling for Cal against Oregon this weekend, so I can say Auburn beat Cal, Cal beat Oregon.
Go Bears.
I think a game that stands out to me would be Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. That's a ranked matchup.
Okay. Yeah,
I think Oklahoma has shown weakness. I mean, they lost last week.
They almost lost to
UCF.
Yes, thank you. UCF, and then they did lose last week to Kansas, which, albeit Kansas isn't the joke they used to be.
Jacob, they got destroyed by Texas.
They're not the joke they used to be. They're still someone you have to take seriously.
I want to point this out for Oklahoma State. They lost to South Alabama 33-7. South Alabama, Jacob.
That's not good.
At home, and South Alabama is 4-5.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
I might retract my statement. I think Oklahoma should probably win that game.
Yeah, let's hope so. That's terrible. Before we wrap up things here, I really want to get your opinion on two things.
Yes, sir.
FSU at number 4. They have the easiest path to win out.
Yeah.
Do they deserve to be in the playoffs?
Playoffs?
Based on their schedule?
Yeah, I do. They deserve. Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State and Michigan. Their whole season is an easy path to the playoffs until they play each other.
Hold on now. I'm sorry. Ohio State did win at Notre Dame. They did.
Because Notre Dame choked.
That's the best win in that conference so far out
they
of
were
the two teams.
expected to blow them out. Hello.
Notre Dame is not a bad team, though.
They're not. I'll give you that. They're not.
I mean, they went and punished USC.
USC is trash.
They're not great, but I mean, Heisman defending Heisman.
You're really getting the gas out of me today. Heisman defending.
Is he not?
No, he's dookie against Notre Dame, and he was dookie against Utah.
Oh, okay. Well, I must be misremembering. I thought he won the Heisman last year.
Oh, well, yeah, he's the defending Heisman, but I thought you meant he has Yes, he is defending Heisman.
Okay.
Sorry,
and then they
I thought
not
you
go
meant-
on the road and clap his cheeks.
Who, Notre Dame?
Yes.
No, Notre Dame beat them at home.
Oh, USC was away?
Yeah, clap their cheeks.
I thought they beat him at the Coliseum.
Dang it, Jacob. Why can't you just know this stuff so I don't have to look it up?
Because I got to make your life a little bit chaotic.
That's I really like that. Yeah, it was at home.
Okay. All right. Fine. Be that as it may.
Okay, Ohio State had a decent win at Notre Dame,
Notre Dame.
but Notre Dame also struggled against Duke, who Florida
And they
State.
also beat Penn State. I want to say that much.
Again, who has Penn State played until Ohio State? No
I
one.
still think
No one.
at the time that they played, both teams had everything in the world to play for. And that matters. It matters. We're going to see what Ohio State is made of when Michigan comes to town.
At the start of the well, they go to Michigan, but at the start of the year, Jacob, at the start of the year,
that's right.
what were we looking at? Oh, we won't know anything about Ohio State and Michigan until they play at the end of the year. Have we not been saying that all year? Everybody.
You're not wrong.
And
I mean,
just like
that is
every year,
the test every year. Who's gonna upset the other?
and just like every year, the Big Ten team that looks great in their crap conference is ranked number one over SEC or ACC or even Big 12. Ranked number one. Ohio State last year, before they lost to Michigan, I believe got put at number one or number two. People were talking about them like they're number one team. I know that. And what happened? They lost
They did.
to Michigan, big time strong at home.
Well, then let me ask you this. We just got the first rankings from the committee. What would be your top four right now?
Georgia 1,
Yep.
Ohio State 2,
Okay.
FSU 3, Michigan 4.
Who would be 5?
Well, before Oklahoma lost, but I'm going to give it the nod to Washington only because they beat Oregon.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think Oregon is a top 4 team.
I do
But
too.
just the way that things are right now, you can't slot them in because Ohio State and Michigan need to eliminate one of them, I think.
Yeah.
So once that happens, then I would slot Oregon, provided they continue to win in the way that they do. I mean, they're dominating people.
They made Utah look like poo-poo.
Yeah, and really the game on paper against Washington was not as competitive as it seemed. They just had a little bit of questionable play calling, I think, at times where they were going for it when maybe they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
If they kick a few more field goals there, they're an undefeated team. And
Well,
they absolutely desecrated Colorado, which at the time,
It was beautiful.
was the Cinderella story of the sport. And then they go up to Eugene and just literally get their doors blown off in the first half. So I don't know. They've been highly impressive this year, and I think that they are definitely a contender for the national championship.
Don't get me wrong, though. I think Washington's pretty good, too. I know they've had 2 struggle weeks in a row, but I think they're not bad.
I mean, they beat Oregon. I mean, at the end of the day, they won. And Michael Penix played very well.
He did.
So, don't write them off yet either.
No.
We should be getting a matchup, presumably, if both teams hold on to the record that they have now and continue to win. They will play each other for the Pac-12 championship. So
The final Pac-12 championship.
Alabama is like the national wild card that I don't think enough people are talking about. If they beat LSU and they're destined to meet Georgia in the SEC championship game, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Georgia's just going to, just
I disagree.
handle them. If Alabama gets disrespected, enough, as nobody talks about them in the national media right now. If they win this game and they go on to have success, they win in the Iron Bowl, they go to the SEC championship, you never know.
If Bama
Maybe they
wins
start peaking at the right time.
If Bama wins out, they're in.
Oh yeah, for sure. If they win out, they're in.
But that also requires Georgia, as much as we want Georgia to lose, from a Bama perspective, we need them to keep winning.
if, let's say, Missouri somehow beats them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they continue to win, wouldn't they go to the SEC championship game?
Yeah. Well, no, because Missouri only has one SEC loss, which is to LSU, so it's not in their division. So Missouri would have to win or have to lose another SEC game to
No,
be
that's
out
what I'm
of it.
saying. Like, would Missouri go?
Oh, yes, if they stayed undefeated, yes. Well, not undefeated,
That
but
could be interesting.
if Missouri beats Georgia, I think they might get ranked ahead of Bama, depending on how well Bama plays against LSU. If Bama wins, keep that in mind. And then Missouri's in the driving seat to go to the SEC championship. They just had to win out, and they're in. And then if Bama wins out, they'd play Missouri. And if Bama beat Missouri, I don't know if that would be enough to put them in. I don't know. Because if Texas wins out, Texas is going to get the nod over Bama.
Yeah, probably. And they should, right? Head to head.
Yeah. If Oregon wins out,
if they win out, they're in. I mean, there's no question about it.
There's a lot of teams right now that if they win out, they're in. Obviously, Michigan, Ohio State, if they win out until they play each other, then one of them's going to be in.
Let me throw this out at you real quick as well, since I know we're getting close to time. But Joel Klatt on his podcast this past week was showing a way. He was going through a path for LSU to make it into the playoff. Bear in mind, no 2-loss team has ever made it into the playoff.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that was, that's fine. It's kind of entertaining to speculate. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just like you're going to talk more about a 2-loss LSU team than the 1-loss Alabama team?
He didn't like Alabama. Here's the thing. If LSU makes it into the playoffs this year, then Bama got rigged last year. Because everything that needed to happen for Bama last year to get in the playoffs happened, and they still didn't make it. Even if LSU wins out, they're not going to the SEC championship if Ole Miss wins out.
Did they lose? Yeah, they did. Yeah. No, you're right.
So if LSU wins out, I don't care they beat Bama. They don't get to go. They would also need everybody in front of them to lose. Which, remember last year, we have an episode on it. I laid out the path for Bama to get to the championship.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Everything I said that needed to happen, happened. It did. It was insane. And we still didn't go.
We came back on the air, though, like the next week, and we talked about how, yeah, all that happened, but we both felt like that's not enough.
Well,
like we both came back and were like, yeah, all this happened, but I don't think they're in. I think they're going to the Sugar Bowl.
Well,
and
yeah. Yeah. But
because TCU...
We said that. I remember I said that because I was being a realist.
Yeah, and I don't think they got it wrong, by the way.
Oh, I do.
Georgia was undefeated.
I do. I think they definitely got it wrong. TCU lost against K-State, who Bama bent over. All right. And then TCU played against Georgia and made it look even worse. I think they definitely got it wrong. TCU was not deserving. They weren't one of the best teams. We're talking about getting the best teams in the playoff. TCU was not one of the best teams.
Yeah,
I don't think they got it right. Michigan, Ohio State, sure. Whoa, TCU beat Michigan. Well, it was a fluke. Jim Harbaugh had the wrong sign stolen, so it was a fluke.
Oh man, that's good. That's good. I will say, yes, that was the most disappointing national championship game in any sport I've ever watched. Ever.
Yeah, also for competition, at least something.
Like that was embarrassing for the whole sport. That was just embarrassing.
Wasn't LSU, Georgia players eating chicken wings in like the third quarter on the sideline?
I don't know. I mean, I literally watched it for the first quarter and I was like, this is over. This is a joke.
Yeah.
This isn't even, this is like Troy going to Ohio State or something.
Troy would have put up more of a fight.
I know. And that's being disrespectful to Troy.
Yeah, it was bad. So I think they definitely got it wrong last year.
God. So whenever I consider that, but at the time we didn't know that was going to happen. So hindsight is always 20/20, I guess. But anyway.
Last thing. LSU this year is not the same as Bama last year. Bama lost 2 games last year, like in the last few minutes. LSU this year got blown out by FSU and then lost to Ole Miss. They're not the same. Nowhere close.
I would also like to point out, since we've poked fun at how many times I was wrong this season, before we go off the air on this episode, Brantley, you were wrong about the Clemson Tigers. Their cheeks.
You know, Jacob,
I just wanted to point that out.
I just don't know. I just don't know what happened to them. I
have no idea. But come on. 4-4.
What do you want me to say? Did you expect that?
I told you they were going to be bad. I told you they were going to be awful.
No, you didn't say that bad.
I did.
No.
I said North Carolina is going to be better. Florida State's going to be better. You know what you did?
Well, they almost lost to Florida. In fact, they choked the game away against Florida State. And North Carolina is poop. Poop.
I just wanted to.
I'm looking at it. The matchup predictor between Clemson and North Carolina has Clemson favored 59%.
I cannot wait for our bowl season picks. That trophy will be mine.
No, Jacob. I get my bowl pick. I get my picks right.
I can't wait for that. But until that time, that's going to do it for us today, guys.
Yeah.
Brantley, I'll give you the final word, and then I'll conclude the show.
Well, folks, thank you for stopping in and listening to us ramble about video games and college football and the likes. Just remember that that trophy will be mine by the end of the year. Still, I'm looking at it right now. It's beautiful, beautiful piece of decor in my gaming room right now, amongst all my other items, like my beard wash that I never use. I digress. I do. Anyway, thanks for stopping in. We appreciate all the support. We're sorry that we are missing a week. Stay tuned for the next episode. We might be having a special guest come on the air. But I say that lightheartedly. We may or may not. We'll find out. But guys, till then, Jacob, take it away.
Thank you, Brantley. Yeah, Brantley, as what Brantley was alluding to, if not next week, we'll definitely work it out. We're trying to get it worked out now, so it'll be in the weeks to come, if not next week. But thank you all so much for supporting the show. As always, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, as we continue to say, because everybody's been so supportive. We greatly appreciate it. If you have topic suggestions, like we always say, you can drop us a line in the comment section, or you can send us an email, or find us on social media. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of the other platforms that you get your podcast, we just humbly ask you leave us a review and maybe even a rating as well while you're down there. We greatly appreciate the feedback. And other than that, everybody, thank you all so much for listening. We will be back very soon. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the In Our Humble Opinion podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you have any comments on today's episode, or if you'd like to suggest topics for future episodes, connect with your hosts at humilitypodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.